everybody. Welcome in. Hope you had a great holiday weekend. Memorial Day yesterday, 3 days, but we are back. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. And seems like Friday was a week ago.
Yeah, well, for me, last week I had those Sun Belt Conference tournament games. So, man, I've only been on the show like once in the last 6 days, and I've been saving up. I got stuff I got to get off my chest here. Dadgum. Plenty to talk about. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. It's Longshore and McKnight, and we're off of a Memorial Day weekend. And, man, there is so much, not only that we have missed, of course, and that we'll talk about, but there's plenty going on this week as well. First of all, my schedule has cleared up a good little bit. Yesterday, the NCAA baseball tournament selection was made, and the Troy Trojans got left out, which was hard for me to believe. We were all, again, Troy won 39 games this year. They were ranked all season long. RPI was good, the whole deal. And so we all gathered, all the team and everybody gathered in the RBI club at the stadium. And then Coach Meade came up. Skylar Meade came out and he said, look, I'm not going to put you through this. I just got a call. Troy is the first team out. And so we're not going to have you sit here and be all antsy and excited and all that, and it's not going to happen and everything. And I got to look, and of course, everybody was disappointed and everything. Some of those seniors, there were some tears and all that. But I started looking and reading and everything. I've read some this morning. It is awfully difficult, much more difficult for a group of 5 school to get in than it is for a Power 4 school to get in. And it's going to be that way in football coming up pretty soon, so we might as well get used to it. Yesterday, there were, of course, the SEC cleaned up. They got a ton of people. Shout out to Gurn and the Butler County Commodore Club, the number 1 overall seed.
Wow.
The Vanderbilt Commodores. How about that? Show your dang gold, man. Yeah. But at the very back, there were the SEC got a jillion hosts. The Sun Belt Conference got 2 teams that'll host regionals. The Big 12, Texas Tech, Arizona State, blah, blah, blah. They didn't get any host sites, but I got to believe that since they didn't get any host sites, the Tournament Selection Committee says, look, we know you got 3 teams on the bubble, and they let all 3 of them in. They had 3 group of 5 teams on the bubble, Xavier, UConn, and Troy. None of them got in. So they're throwing them a bone there. And it's pretty much easier to have that happen. And
do you think the decision maybe, because Troy was in the top 25, all season?
The whole year.
Are they looking at, I don't know, strength of schedule?
Which
we hear a lot about that, particularly in
like 14. That's a good question because after it was over with, some of the members of the selection committee, including the athletic director at Southeastern Louisiana, his name is J.R. Teagues, and he said that you've got to look at some of those games. Like Xavier played a really hard schedule, a really hard non-conference schedule, but you got to win some of those games. Yeah. Troy played a really hard non-conference schedule. They beat Mississippi State. They beat Coastal Carolina, who's a national seed, beat them twice. But he said
played Auburn and Alabama too, didn't they?
Yeah, and lost to Auburn by 1, lost to Alabama by 1, and and all that. So even J.R. Teague says you gotta give them credit because they're playing a Power 4 schedule, and he's talking as the athletic director of a group of 5 schools. So it's frustrating, and it's not right, and it's going to be happening in a lot of other sports as well. I'm telling you, we're getting a lot JD said, it's conference politics.
Yeah, a lot of feedback on the River Region Straw chat line this morning.
Bill
from Baltimore, maybe we should expand the playoff. I'm a big playoff expansion guy.
Yeah, you are such a liberal in terms of that kind of a thing.
mean, it doesn't have to be football. I mean, Bill, I'm all in. Let's expand it even more. I'm good with that. We can certainly do it in baseball. But yeah, I mean, is it a snub? I mean, I think the top 25 all year and you don't make it, then why have a poll?
Well,
I think this is one of the 25 best teams in America, and they're not going to make the tournament?
Which is 64? Yeah, go figure. I'm still ticked off about that. Lots of other things that we can pass on about it. The top 4 seeds in the NCAA tournament: Vanderbilt, Texas, Arkansas, and Auburn. They're all SEC teams. The SEC got 13 teams in. 13.
Is this basketball or baseball?
It's baseball.
Oh, okay.
13 of them in. Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn. Well, it's easier. Shout out to South Carolina, Missouri, and Texas A&M. Texas A&M, who played for the championship last year. Those 3 are the only ones who didn't get in.
I got to ask you this question, and I'll be the first to tell you.
Okay.
I'll admit it. You know, I maybe don't keep up with college baseball as closely as maybe college football and basketball. Keep up with those a little bit closer than baseball.
John says, "Oh, guilty. Yeah, I get you.
Go ahead and lay it on the table. It's like when I run for political office, I'm laying it all on the table day one. You're not going to know anything.
All of it. There's probably a couple of things you probably want to, wait until somebody asks you before you bring that stuff up. But yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, John, you're probably not the only one like that.
Yeah, I get it.
There's probably a few others who do.
As a, I don't know, casual observer of college baseball, I got to tell you, I was a little surprised Alabama made the field. Now, I could be dead wrong. I don't know what they're looking at. I don't know the matrix, the makeup and whatnot. I heard something that Alabama's win-loss record was the best since 2009 or something like that. So from a W&L standpoint, obviously they did pretty well. But I thought, really, I was a little surprised. Should I have been?
No, I mean, I never thought that they weren't going to get in. That's a good team. They got the great player. And they played a really good schedule, got off to the good start. Alabama, 41 wins, 16 losses, RPI 13. That's pretty good, but 13 RPI, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 SEC schools had a better RPI than 13.
Is that like a QBR?
Well, it's a lot like it. In the sense that I can't explain it to you. I don't know what goes into it, but yeah, the SEC got 13 teams in. Alabama deserves to be in. Here's what it looks like. Auburn, by the way, point of fact, guys, ladies, Aubs, lend me your ear. If you want to get a little conversation started this morning once you return over to the water cooler at your office and you're an Auburn fan, ask all of your buddies to name the only school in the country that was a top 4 overall seed in the NCAA men's basketball tournament and a top 4 overall seed in the NCAA baseball tournament.
Wait a minute. Have you read Phillip already today? Have you already read PM this morning?
I have not. Auburn finishes in the top 4, or finishes. It's just a start. Auburn is a top 4 national seed in the NCAA baseball tournament. Auburn, of course, was a number 4 seed in the basketball tournament, played in the Final Four for the second year in a row. And Auburn will host a regional. It all gets started this weekend. NC State versus Stetson, and then Auburn versus an entity known as Central Connecticut State.
Ooh. They didn't finish in the bottom 4 in football, did they? No, they didn't. No way.
See, that's the next thing. That's the next thing out there. How close is Auburn to finishing as a top 4 overall seed in football.
If you
when will
listen
that happen?
to the show last Friday when we made some predictions about Auburn, of course, 8-4. I could see him going 9-3, but I couldn't get away from the 8-4 prediction that I traditionally do. Speaking of Auburn baseball, I know what the Auburn baseball coach looks like because I stood right next to him to a baggage carousel at the Montgomery Regional Airport about a year ago. But I can't think of his name.
His name's Butch Thompson.
Yeah, Butch Thompson. And I looked at him and I remember, thinking, where's this guy been? Because this team, Auburn did not have a good season last year.
They did
maybe one of their worst in a while.
Yep.
And I'm looking at this guy. I think his wife was with him. And I'm thinking, where could he have been? He had some big luggage. I thought, is he recruiting, whatever? And I was thinking about that over the weekend when I saw Auburn, one of the top 4 seeds, hosting the region. I'm thinking, what did this guy do to change that baseball program in less than a year?
Well, that's what we're going to have to ask Bryan Matthews in a little while because that's a really good question. The hitting was better. Got a couple of really good freshmen. The pitching was a ton better.
Yeah.
But top 4 national seed better? I mean, I think Butch ought to be national.
And when I saw the guy back, I can remember looking at him and, I said, I'm not going to say anything. I mean, this guy's trying to get home. But I thought, was he on a job interview? Does he see what's coming? I'm
Is
thinking,
he recruiting?
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of thinking, and then yesterday when I was reading about the seedings, I thought, man, this guy has really
some stuff.
Turned it around over there.
The commonality between the football, basketball, and baseball coaches on the men's side is that none of them is what you would call clean shaven.
No.
Butch goes, there used to be something way back when with the back when Crockett and Tubbs were patrolling the streets of Miami.
Yeah.
They used to have something they marketed called the Miami device.
Yes.
Which was basically a shaver with just a little bit left off so you could have the
that was called that was called the 3-day growth.
Yeah. And it stays 3 days.
It does.
I've never had a beard or anything like that.
I've never thought about that because you're right. Football, baseball, basketball, they all kind of wear some type of facial hair. I saw a picture of Hugh Freeze. I think it was at Auburn undercover. And they were just doing a little insight about the future of Auburn football. And they had a picture of Coach Freeze with a coat and tie on. And he's clean shaven. I thought, man, that's a good look, Coach.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, maybe we should go back to that a little bit more often. But
well,
being that I've never thought about that. That's a good pickup there. They all wear facial hair.
Catching up with that a little bit. Again, Auburn hosting this weekend in Auburn with North Carolina State and the Stetson Hatters and Central Connecticut State. Alabama is a 2 seed in a regional in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Number 1 seed Southern Miss, who Troy lost to by a run in the conference tournament semifinals on Saturday morning. Southern Miss, number 1, Alabama, number 2, Miami, number 3. Don't get me started on Miami, 7 games over 500. And the Columbia Lions as the number 4 seed. Alabama will open on Friday. Alabama will play at 2 o'clock Friday afternoon against the Miami Hurricanes in what everybody's going to call the Gino Torretta rematch.
Yeah, no kidding. Is Alabama going to come out with some specialized defense against them? I mean, what's going to be the game plan there?
Oh, I don't know, but there's history involved there. Auburn will play and that game, that Alabama-Miami game from Hattiesburg, Pete Taylor Park, ESPN2. Right?
What? Come on.
Auburn, the number 4 overall seed, hosts the tournament. Now, they are the number 1 seed in their regional. They take on the Central Connecticut State whatevers.
Yep.
6 o'clock Friday night. ESPN Plus?
Well, there's some NBA action on Friday night.
Well, see, is this because you look at it, and Vanderbilt opens on the SEC network, and they're hosting North Carolina versus Holy Cross in Chapel Hill on the ACC network, LSU Little Rock on the SEC network, TCU Southern Cal on ESPNU. Virtually everything else is on ESPN Plus down the line. Florida versus East Carolina from Coastal Carolina on ESPN2. Why the heck is Alabama, Miami on ESPN2 for any other reason, John, besides brand recognition?
Yeah.
Any other reason?
Just doesn't seem fair. Terrence is really looking forward to it. Terrence is a Miami fan.
Yeah.
He's looking forward to that rematch. So, Terrence, that'll be fun to get ready for as we roll down the rest of the week. A lot of good chats on our River Region Straw chat line. As Barry mentioned, Bryan Matthews, AuburnSports.com at the bottom of the hour. Top of next hour, Travis Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide. And Barry, when we get back, the SEC spring meetings kicked off yesterday. It's interesting that they actually start them on Memorial Day.
Yes, they do. It is underway.
It is underway, and I got to tell you, some of the things I'm hearing about that are being discussed and talked about and whatnot, some of them I guess I'm okay with. Other ones I'm a little concerned about.
I do know this. This is going to be, to use a phrase from Jim Nantz and something that we've said for the last couple of years, this is going to be an SEC spring meetings like none other. You know, back in the day, it'd sit there, and if Longshore was AD, you know, he'd be sitting on the table, blah, 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 bylaws this and blah, 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 blah. You know, restrictions that they'd play a lot of golf, you know, a few mojitos in the morning, you know, and all that. Now they're working this one, John. There's work being done.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
we will.
Somebody said, hey, is Jay Barker better not be throwing out the first pitch for Alabama, Miami, otherwise it hit the backstop on 3 hops. So, you know, you missed it. Missed it.
That's a good
one. I was
one.
right there for you, John.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, for people that don't remember the 92 game, go back and watch it.
Yeah, then you'll get it then. Yeah, he's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Located just 8 miles north of Alabama's state capital, Capitol Hill features 3 18-hole championship courses. With more than 1,500 acres of golf and nature, the pure magnitude of this facility is amazing and allows each course to be drastically different from the others. Capitol Hill also features an innovative 360-degree driving range 400 yards in diameter. Capitol Hill offers a fully stocked pro shop with the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Capitol Hill for tee times and more information.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. About 19 minutes past the hour on this Tuesday, long holiday weekend. Hope you had a great time with family and friends. Enjoyed some of the nice weather. Longshore McKnight, presented by Bud Light in association with our good friends at YellowhammerNews.com. Check it all out at YellowhammerNews.com. You can watch us there. There's a write-up about the show every afternoon, and really appreciate the good folks over there in our association with Yellowhammer News. So, Barry, the spring meetings are underway down in Destin. A lot of talking, a lot of business type stuff, things of that nature. Okay, this house settlement deal, I'm ready for it to happen. You know, I've heard all the talk. I'm just ready to see some action. But here's what got me.
Yep.
And maybe they're just throwing it out there to say, now, look, you know, this really isn't what we want to do, but we might have to do it if you guys don't get your act straight. And what I'm talking about is, and there was some talk about it when SMU and Boise made the playoff last year. Well, obviously, you don't need to play a tough schedule. If it's all about wins, we'll just schedule 11 tomato cans. There's that phrase again. 11 crappy games. And if it's all just about going 11-0, we'll just schedule that way. And I'm thinking, whoa. Don't panic. No, wait a minute. I can't handle that. So there was a little talk about, well, maybe we shouldn't schedule these non-conference games, and maybe we shouldn't go to non-conference games and whatever.
Right.
I hope that's just some little scare tactic, because I do not want that. I want non-conference games and a quality non-con. Don't be teasing me with this. We might not do that.
Sankey has been, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey has been maybe the most popular man in America for people to get interviews with. And he has been on a jillion of them. And a lot of it is because of what John's talking about. Look, the SEC holds the cards, right? Sankey has been one of those. People say that he was one of the ones that's pushing the 4-4-2-2-1-3 model, which is for the college football playoff. 4 bids to the SEC, 4 bids to the Big Ten, 2 bids to the ACC, 2 bids to the Big 12, 1 bid to a non-power league, and 3 at-larges. There's got to be a better way to call it than the 4-4-2-2-1-3. But he says, well, I don't know. We'll see how the instead of Sankey saying, well, we'll see, what direction people take with it, he says, we'll see how that conversation manifests itself. John's looking at him and saying, why don't you talk like a normal person?
Yeah.
Let's
really
just see how the conversation manifests itself. Come on, Greg. You're a dang android. Give me a break. But he's like, oh, we're interested, but we're not committed. Yeah, that was John in prom week. Can
I get back to you on that?
Yeah. Let's see what I'm interested. I'm interested in this.
Yeah.
Not
I'm
committed.
just waiting for my best offer.
So, and he said, people are asking him about, hey, what do you think about, how charged up the ACC commissioners and the Big 12 commissioners are against this straight seeding model? And he says, well, it's a responsibility we take very seriously, and he's not saying anything. On the House settlement, I learned a long time ago that we don't control the court system. Is there hope? Is there a thought? Do people say it would be decided at this point? Yes. So, he's talking, and he's using big words, but he's
Always
not really saying anything. He is saying this. For those people, back to John's point, this is a convoluted way to get back to what John was asking about. One of the things that everybody else is saying, well, if the SEC is going to automatically get 4 bids to any college football playoff, can they at least play a schedule that's equitable to what the Big 10 plays or the Big 12 plays or the ACC plays, which is what, everybody? What John's talking about? A 9-game conference schedule. And Sankey says, it's not the most important thing out there. I suppose it's something that we will take a look at, continue to explore amongst our constituency. John brought this up years ago about the 9-game conference schedule. I'm thinking, why? Things are fine the way they are. I've said that in response to a lot of things John talks about. Bowl system? What's wrong with the bowl system? This is fine the way they are. 9-game schedule. What's wrong with 8? Things are fine the way they are. John says, no, I will not have it. We need to play. Now, I do think that it's going to happen at some point, and that's probably the reason is the SEC is going to say, all right, fine. If we want to play this game, if we want to be able to dictate how many bids we get automatically, in a college football playoff, I get it. We're going to have to play the same kind of conference schedule everybody else does so that it's even. But Sankey doesn't seem like he's in any hurry.
No. I just think 9 conference games, and it's kind of like the non-conference. Sankey in an interview talked about the quality of the schedule, which is a nice way to put it. Yeah, you want a quality schedule. He seems to be in favor of continuing the quality non-conference matchup, which I think is a big part of college football. We've talked about it a lot. Growing up, it was really kind of neat when you had a team from outside of your league that was known as, somewhat of a big boy, whatever it may be.
When John looked at the schedule and there's Mississippi Southern and Memphis State, and John's like, come on, Dad.
I mean, the year Alabama played Notre Dame, Penn State, Southern Cal, and Ohio State in the same year, I'm thinking, whoa, wow. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. Now, one of them was in a bowl game, one of them was in a kickoff classic game, and the other 2 were regularly scheduled games, but hey, what the heck. But I do think the 9 games are coming. I really do. I've been thinking that for a while. I've been a little nervous about the non-conference scheduling that a lot of these schools have scheduled out over the next 8 to 10 years. But one thing that does seem to be clearing up based on what I've been able to gather, the majority of the SEC, if not all 16 teams, won a 16-team playoff. And to me, I don't know why you wouldn't.
I find that hard to believe. I find that hard to believe without getting a little phone call from Greggy up in Birmingham. Listen,
to me, if you're a Big Ten,
if you think about it, and you're Mississippi State, and you're thinking, all right, I get it. We would have a better chance with an automatic qualifier bid than if we actually had to be like one of the top 3 teams in the SEC. But in order to get that, we have to give up one of our non-conference group of 4 home games. This is what Mississippi State's thinking. On one hand, their chance with a 4-bid automatic qualifier postseason goes up from like 3% to 6%. But to give up and to get that extra 3% to get to 6% chance to actually make it into the postseason for the first time in forever, you got to give up an absolutely proven home game against South Alabama, or you get people that do come to those games and that do sell tickets to those games. If I'm Mississippi State, John, I gotta say, I get it. Look, we ain't making the playoffs no matter how many qualifiers you get. Mississippi State this year plays at Southern Miss. I don't get it. They also play Arizona State at home.
See, that's their quality non-conference game.
Yeah.
You got to play somebody in another major 4 conference.
They got home and away with Minnesota. They got a home and away with Texas Tech. For some unknown reason, they got a home and away with Washington State. Ooh. They need that group of 4 regular season game, guaranteed cash money, Davis Wade Stadium, tickets sold, not a sellout, but tickets sold for that one, and getting that big check at the end of the year from the SEC, as opposed to giving that up for an improvement from like 2% to 5% to get into the chance to get into the postseason. No,
I don't know who the athletic director at Mississippi State is, but I think it will be explained to him this way. Hey, we're pulling for you. We really want you to make the 16-team playoff, and we'd love to see, Notre Dame come to Starkville. Both the things are not going to happen, but they're going to tell them that. But how they're really going to convince them is, you see, ESPN wants to spend X amount of dollars, like billions, on broadcasting our league, in which you are a part of.
In which you get I check at the end of the year for your membership in.
And ESPN wants to pay us even more to go to 9 conference games. And they want to play us even more for the 16-team playoff.
Yep.
That means no matter what happens to you, whether you make the playoff or not, we're going to send you a check for about this amount of money every year.
So forget about it. Forget about an improved chance at winning.
Yeah.
Just get your check and shut up. You know, he's like one of those consiglières over there in Goodfellas. This guy gets money just because somebody else, you know, steals a rack of clothes and, you know, you get your cut or something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, Paulie always got a cut.
Yeah. And he never even did anything. Well, when we come back, speaking of Goodfellas, Bryan Matthews is going to join us. Got to get a perspective on the NCAA baseball tournament, which we told you about at the beginning. A lot of conversation about it. Bryan will give us his thoughts on Auburn hosting and a top 4 overall seed when we come back. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Ford announces employee pricing on every new 24 and most new 25 Fords, and only at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, up to $5,000 below employee pricing, plus no payments for 90 days. From America, for America, at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, home of America's best-selling truck for nearly 50 years in a row, the F-150, with hundreds to choose from. The Ford Escape, the Ford Edge, and the Ford Bronco, all priced at thousands below invoice. And pack up the crew in a Ford Expedition or a Ford Explorer for the beach, the lake, or the big game. It's all at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
On the basketball court, the soccer pitch, or even the golf course, your crew brings their best not just for the win, but for that post-game celebration. When victory tastes like Michelob Ultra, it's worth every drop of sweat. And if you don't win, you'll still get the beer. It's just on you. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra, 2.6 carbs, 95 calories. Superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025, Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. Their licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. Okay, about 27 minutes to the top of the hour. We bring in our man, Bryan Matthews, auburnsports.com, joining us on our City of Montgomery guest hotline. Hey, Bryan, hope you had a good long weekend. How's it going today?
I did. Had some delicious steak from the grill yesterday, so I'm ready to tackle the week.
Mm-hmm. There we go. I did some research, Bryan, and from your piece detailing this at auburnsports.com, the Auburn baseball team earns a number 4 national seed in the NCAA baseball tournament. That's the highest in program history, except for one other team. That was the 2003 team.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Jefferson Davis High School's own Sean Gamble and Lavelle Spigner?
Cleet
Thomas?
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Tell me that wasn't 22 years ago, Bryan.
Yep. How about that? It's been a minute. Covered that team. Really good team. But didn't quite make it all the way to the College World Series that year. But this is a different type team, a different situation. You know, this Auburn team is still not won 40 games. They finished 6th in the SEC. But I think that strength of schedule and that RPI was the difference maker. Number 1 strength of schedule in the country, number 3 RPI in the country. That allowed the 6th place SEC team, Auburn, be the number 4 national seed in the tournament.
Bryan, I was asking Barry earlier today. I ran into Butch Thompson in an airport about a year ago, and I remember looking at him and going, "Man, you had a tough year. I mean, that was tough last year." And I thought,
he didn't say anything to him.
I didn't say anything.
Hey,
I was
man.
thinking about this, and I'm thinking, have you been on a job interview or have you been out recruiting? Where are you coming in from? I mean, I was just thinking all these things in my mind, and then looking at today, where he was a year ago. What was the difference? What made this Auburn team so much better than last year?
Well, they brought in one of the top classes in the country, and they had a number of those freshmen contribute, 3 everyday starters in the lineup, a couple of key starters pitching wise that have played very well, and they brought in some good transfers. But I think the biggest thing was getting guys like Cooper McMurray, Ike Irish, to return, not to declare for the draft or transfer. I'm sure a lot of other schools are coming after them. So I just think a lot of that credit goes to Butch and his staff for continuing to sell their program and making these guys believe that they were going to have a better team next year. And that,
all right,
and they were right. Yeah.
Yeah, it has definitely been a compelling team and a compelling story. The regional gets underway Friday, 1:00. It also includes not only number 1 seed Auburn, number 2 North Carolina State, number 3 Stetson, number 4 Central Connecticut State. Even though my Troy Trojans didn't get in, which is still a source of major consternation and head banging.
First 4 out, right?
Yeah, the first one out. Oh, anyway, without that, I still get into I don't know how to say this. This looks like one of the easier brackets that's out there in the regionals, Bryan. What do you think?
I think the opportunity is definitely there for Auburn to advance. Definitely. And their super regional opponent would be either Coastal Carolina or probably Florida. They're 1-2 on the other side of the bracket there. So, the opportunity is definitely there. I don't think Auburn is a team that you would normally say, oh, this is the number 4 team in the country. I heard a guy on ESPN yesterday at the start of their show say there's no super teams this year, and I would agree with that. There's a lot of good teams that can get hot at the right time. So that's what Auburn needs to do, because I think they're capable of winning this regional or super regional. But I also think if they're flat or they don't come out and, if another team has a really good left-handed pitcher that shuts them down, they could be in trouble. So this is a team that has to play well to win. But yes, I do think the opportunity is there. And I also think the thing that's also changed for Auburn is the crowd and the attendance. Expanding the stadium, all the new additions have really paid off this season. They've broken attendance records for the 4th straight year. And I think that place is going to be hopping this weekend. I think it's going to be it's almost a total sellout. It may be by now. I haven't checked since this morning, but it's really close. And they're adding more and more seats just to bring more people in.
I was thinking about that, Bryan. I mean, with all they've done to that ballpark over there at Auburn, I got to think this is a huge advantage for them hosting and being there. I mean, I'm with you. I would expect the crowds to be off the chart.
Yeah, it should be. And, NC State will be, used to crowds like this, but Central Connecticut and Stetson certainly won't be. So that's going to be a big advantage. And I just think Auburn is starting to develop something that maybe a State or LSU had. I'm not saying Auburn is there yet, but starting to get much more serious and supportive of their baseball program.
I've always said this, and I got in a conversation with my buddies about this yesterday, who don't, obsess about college baseball the way I do. Every year in the tournament, starting in the regionals, the television networks, and I watch them all. I'll watch Corvallis. I'll watch, wherever. They always try to spotlight a player or two. Who are the guys like, I don't know, Laviolette last year for Texas A&M, or, some of the guys who they really feature. They said, who would the feature guy be from Auburn? I got my idea who it would be. For a national audience who haven't checked out Auburn, what's the first thing that they'll probably be smacked in the face with from television coverage? What player?
Well, one thing I want to mention, Central Connecticut State, I believe, has the nation's top hitter. So he'll be spotlighted in this regional. But for Auburn, I would say Ike Irish, of course.
Yep, that's what I would have said.
A guy who in the SEC just tore it up in conference games, especially on the road. Has had a great junior season. A guy who could have transferred, had some big offers, definitely, opportunity to go pretty much anywhere in the country after last season, but stuck with Auburn, has been a real leader. So he'll be a spotlight. And, I think one of the guys to watch for Auburn is Samuel Dutton. Had a terrific season, but his last 2 starts, he faded a little bit. And when you go back and look at it, he's pitched, around 75 innings this year. He pitched around 85 total in 3 years at LSU. So you can understand why I kind of hit the wall here. But he had the week off for the SEC tournament because Auburn didn't advance there. And so we'll see if he can bounce back and have a great regional, a great start for Auburn this weekend. That's going to be one of the keys for Auburn if they're going to make a run.
Of course, elsewhere, recruiting in football. I mean, that's always on people's minds. And with what's going on the last 2 seasons in recruiting, a lot of expectations, a lot of high hopes for a third one being as good, if not better. So tell us about the recruiting schedule for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, they had, I think it was 13 Baker's dozen in 2 weeks ago or a week ago. None this weekend for Memorial Day, but they've got another 10 to 12 to 13 coming in this weekend. Travis Burgess is a top quarterback in the country. They've got 3 tight ends. That's a position they need to really improve. Hezekiah Harris, who's an Auburn commitment, but other schools are going after him really hard, will be in. And Jacquez Wilkes from in-state is a really good pass rusher that I think a lot of teams are interested in. And Auburn may have a little ground to make up with the kid not too far from home. So that's just a taste of what's coming in. It'll be interesting to see how much interest there is. It just it was wild last week, and Auburn had a bunch of, a couple of 5 stars, a bunch of 100 national kids, and the interest just wasn't there in recruiting, I think. And I think that's the case across the board. I think we may have talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but I think Auburn's doing a great job in college football recruiting right now, but I don't think a lot of people know that.
Right. We were talking before, and I know you know this and everything, but you could, after a long Memorial Day weekend, you're back in the office, you're hanging around the water cooler with the fellas trying to catch up on the weekend and everything, and you throw out the fact that only one school in the country was a national top 4 seed in men's basketball and in baseball. What is that indicative of the track? And it's Auburn. Does that indicate anything as far as the track of athletics as a whole, Bryan?
I think that tells you Auburn's got 2 really good head coaches in both those positions, right? They're the ones that make the difference. Bruce Pearl has been getting it done for decades now throughout his career and continues to put great teams on the floor year in and year out. And Butch Thompson has, taken Auburn to 2 World Series, 2 of the 6 in the program history, and pretty consistently puts out a good team. Sometimes he'll have injuries here or there, or sometimes, things don't work out like last year for a number of players, but usually he's putting a very competitive team on the field every year.
Yeah, I would say
SEC, the SEC spring meetings coming out. They got underway yesterday. Do you anticipate anything substantial being accomplished?
I do. Ever since ESPN sort of said they would pay more for more games, I think the 9-game schedule is definitely coming for the SEC. I think and that'll be the 6-3 model. 3 permanent opponents, which will be good, I think, for schools like Auburn, which have at least a couple of really big rivalry games, Georgia and Alabama, they want to play every year. I think we're moving towards, this is not necessarily the SEC, but again, it is because it's the SEC and Big Ten who are going to set this. We're moving toward that 16-team playoff starting in 2026. And despite what everybody, is against, I think it's going to be a 4-4-2-2, 1-1-3 model, however you say it, but 4 automatic bids for the SEC and Big Ten. I think that's coming too.
I'm with you. I think so too, Bryan. I just know why we're dragging our feet, why this takes so long, and people are still, scratching and gnawing and climbing. Let's just get it done, whether it's from the House settlement to 9 games to a 16-team playoff. As I mentioned earlier, I still want the quality non-conference games as well. I know I'm asking for a lot, but I just think if ESPN is going to spend that kind of money, they're going to want as many quality games as they can get their hands on. That's why I think the non-conference and a good quality non-conference game, and that'll give you 2 patsies. You got 2 patsies and 2 off weeks. I mean, that's like 4 off weeks.
Yeah. And I think fans have to get used to maybe teams being really good that are 8-4 or 9-3 and get hot and make a run in the playoffs. I think that's going to happen here. I also think that the volatility of college football needs to settle down. They need to finalize some things because I think it's really stressful on fans. I think it gets people upset. I think it turns off fans to the sport when there's so many changes happening over and over and such big things. So I think if college football can settle on some things, they still got a lot of other stuff to work on, but the playoffs, the schedules, settle on that. I think that will be a step toward providing some security, better feelings among people who follow college football and love college football.
One more Auburn question before we get into the musical journey at auburnsports.com. What do you think Auburn freshman guard Tahad Pettiford, what do you think he's considering on the pro side of a legal pad and on the con side of a legal pad in terms of maybe declaring for the NBA draft?
I think it comes down to him being a first round pick. I think that's basically what the decision is going to be, although maybe if it's a low first round pick, maybe he's still considering Auburn in that case. We'll see. But, he made it to the combine, performed well there, has had some workouts with other teams. So he is getting that feedback. He is going to know really well where he stands. The deadline for him to pull out and return to Auburn is tomorrow at 10:59 Central Time, I believe. It's
10:59 p.m.
Yes, it's before midnight Eastern Time, so you back it up an hour there. So it's coming up. We should know something here really soon about his final decision. And if he does declare, that means Auburn needs a big and another guard to replace him. If not, they need a big, and maybe they'll add an extra piece in there just to have depth. But
which way what's the wind telling us what's going to happen there? What do you think?
I felt all along that he was returning, but the more it stretches out, the more you hear about he's working out with this team and that team. I'm starting to, it's at least 50. It's really close, I think. Really
all right.
Close.
Let me put you on the spot then. Your opinion, which do you think he should do?
If he can be a first round pick, he should do what Bruce Pearl said and go ahead and go. I know that's not what's best for Auburn. That's not what anybody at Auburn wants, but that's what's best for the young man. So, yeah.
I get that. Musical journey at
where are we going today?
At auburnsports.com.
We're going back 105 years.
Well, I'm reading it at the top, and I'm always reading it. It's brought to you by Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. And I'm thinking, as I'm reading at the top, I'm thinking, who in the world is Norma Dolores Eggstrom?
Yeah. And she became Peggy Lee when she first went on the air for a radio station, I think in North Dakota or close by. And I think some of the most interesting things, of course, she had an incredible career as a writer. If anybody, remembers when they were kids or have kids and watched Lady and the Tramp.
Oh, yeah.
She co-wrote most of those songs. She was Mervyn. Wow. I mean, wait, no, she was, let me get this right here. She was the two cats.
Oh, yeah, Cy and Am.
Yep. She was Darling, and she was the dog Peg. So she voiced 4 of the characters in that.
Damn.
What else I found interesting was she was the she ordered a drink. She had gone to Mexico and she ordered a drink at a place in Texas, and the bartender made it and they called it the margarita. So that's sort of how margarita got started in the United States there. And even Tug McGraw, you remember him in old, I think he's a Phillies pitcher, named one of his pitches to Peggy Lee because it's based on one of her songs, because the hitter would get out front and says, "Is that all there is?"
Is that all there is?
And then Miss Piggy, the Muppet, was also modeled after Peggy Lee. So
there you go.
Just a lot of pop culture influences by her, an incredible career.
It's just nowhere else. Anybody who covers Auburn, really, if you want to expand it all, nobody on the entire Rivals network would even think about referencing Miss Piggy in their.
No,
that's true.
No way. I mean, just
above
this
and
guy
beyond.
right here.
That's where I go. That's where I go. Yep.
No holds barred from this guy.
Pretty impressive stuff. And it's brought to you by who there, Bryan?
A delicious Uncle Keith's Red Sauce, homemade right here in the state of Alabama. You can get it at Publix, Piggly Wiggly, Renfro's. Order online, BMAT15, gets you 15% off that order. Give it a try. You're supporting an in-state business.
Rivals,
Awesome.
of course, is the home site of auburnsports.com. So you get not just great coverage on anything, but all of the bells and whistles and rankings and things of that nature from the Rivals Network as a whole. How do people sign up?
Yeah, and it's going to be a busy week. You can sign up online. It's a really easy step there, and we'll have recruiting coverage. We'll have coverage of basketball in the portal and basketball decisions with Todd Pettiford. We'll have plenty of baseball coverage this week. I've already put up a story, and I'll have another one coming up soon. So all that more, auburnsports.com. Give it a try. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, guys. Y'all
yes,
take care.
sir. You too. Bryan Matthews, auburnsports.com here this morning. I always enjoy him being a part of what we do here. We also enjoy you being a part of what we do. Barry, I've not heard this, but JJ over in Atlanta says, did Alabama pick up a 6'7" walk-on quarterback? I've not heard that, JJ. I went to Bama Online and Tider Insider. I hadn't been able to find anything about that, but that's news to me.
Walk-on quarterback.
Have not heard that. Barry, see if you can explain this one. What is Curtis talking about here?
Oh, okay. Hang on. Curtis. So a home game hosting UT has a cheaper ticket price than an Auburn away game? Curtis, buddy, you're going to have to give us more.
Is he talking about, Alabama is hosting Tennessee.
Is he talking about Texas?
They're not hosting Texas.
So Alabama, Tennessee is cheaper than Alabama Auburn at Jordan-Hare?
The way I see it, and I don't know what the Alabama Tennessee face value ticket price is. Obviously, he thinks it's less than $205, which is what Auburn is charging for the Alabama game. So Alabama has no control of what Auburn is charging. And if I was Auburn, I'd charge $500. They'd sell every one of them. They'd leave money on the table.
That's right.
But I do not know the ticket price of the Alabama-Tennessee ticket. But if it's cheaper than $205, then, maybe they're giving their fans a break and not trying to gouge them on a big game coming to town. Similar to what Georgia's doing when they host Alabama with a face value of $215. And here he is, Barry. I've been waiting. Boom. Robbie from Greenville. He has watched the show from Friday, and he's got a lot of comments.
Oh, yeah. He's got to catch up on this. John, I just Googled, as we're talking, 6'7" walk-on quarterback, Alabama.
Okay.
And JJ's right. John Gazzaniga. I hope that's how he pronounces his name. John Gazzaniga announced his intention to play football at the University of Alabama. He's a product of Santa Margarita Catholic High School in Rancho Santa Margarita, California, rated as a 3-star recruit. He played under former NFL quarterback Carson Palmer during the 2025 season. He threw for 59% completion percentage, 15 touchdowns in 12 games, and he will walk on at Alabama.
I'll say this, JJ. Don't know much about this young man. What I do know, Barry just told me. But I have heard coaches say you can never have too many quarterbacks on the roster. You never know what might happen, and particularly with the 3 that are currently there, you got to think one of them is probably not going to be next year at this time.
Well, can I make a prediction?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Gardner Minshew.
Okay.
On this kid.
Mm-hmm.
Gardner Minshew, remember, he had begun his career at Troy, then went to junior college, then went to East Carolina and didn't play. He lost his starting job. Then he walked on at Alabama, and I was familiar with Minshew because he had been at Troy, and I'm thinking, why in the world would that guy commit to play football in Alabama as probably a 3rd or a 4th string quarterback? And then he got a scholarship opportunity at Washington State under Mike Leach, and he lit it up, and now he's been in the NFL for about 7 years.
That? Does this kid have a mustache like Minshew did?
Does anybody have a mustache like Minshew
did Minshew have the mustache at Troy?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
wow.
he did. And it was about the same.
Yeah.
But you have this is what's happening. I'll just go ahead and tell you, this is what's happening. John Gazzaniga, 6'7" quarterback, tutelage under Carson Palmer, hadn't gotten as many scholarship offers as he wants. So he says, hey, I'll walk on at Alabama. You know what that does to his national recruiting profile? And pretty soon he'll get a scholarship offer, Fresno State, UNLV. So they can put, hey, former Alabama quarterback John Gazzaniga is, a late flip. We flipped this guy from Alabama.
See,
that's what's happening.
He's using Alabama to his advantage. Daniel, from what
I know
I've
somebody
heard,
else who did. Yeah,
you better believe it.
No doubt.
Particularly the sorority system. I definitely use that to my advantage. Daniel, from what I have heard, Auburn's 3 opponents, if we do go to that model like that Bryan described, the 6-3 model, Auburn's would be Alabama, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. No Theotis, Alabama would not get Vanderbilt. I understand Auburn will have Vanderbilt. They're trying to get 2 extreme different cultures together at least once a year.
That's the thing that I would, I'm still hold out hope because John doesn't understand it. And I get it. I mean, if I'm an Auburn fan, I'd rather have Vanderbilt than Auburn, Florida used to be a big deal.
That's what I've heard. I've heard the Amen Corners business, and I heard Auburn and Tennessee was too.
Patrick Nix to Frank Sanders in the corner of the end zone, the Calvin Jackson 97-yard interception return against Terry Dean at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Bo Jackson allegedly hurt in Knoxville in a game against the Vols.
Tennessee.
Great.
Well, let's take a break because when we come back, we're going to talk with Travis Reier from Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide, a whole bunch of stuff. Always good content coming up as we get set to close out already our first hour of the program. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Marianne is with us at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. Gosh, there's a lot of things going on at Marguerite's right now. Marianne, give us an example or two.
Sure. Okay. Well, it's crazy. Tons of things are going on. We've got graduations coming up, lots of different anniversaries. We've had tons of upgrades or people getting engaged. Of course, Marguerite's has an amazing selection of diamonds, loose and mounted. We've had some people wanting to come in and needing to get engaged on the spot almost. And guess what? We have an in-stock jeweler, so we can make that happen for them.
How has Earring Fest gone? I can imagine that it has been spectacular, Marianne.
Yes, Earring Fest is great. We have tons of selections, more than honestly we've ever had before. Dangles, hoops, studs, you name it, we've got it.
What about for the graduate? A lot of, like you mentioned, a lot of people are graduating or are about to graduate. What's the go-to? What's been the most popular graduation gift?
Well, go-tos, of course, I'm thinking maybe the baby cross. It's beautiful. It's small. I have it. And a lot of people get turned off. They're like, baby, no, this is like for a graduate. But it's just a smaller cross, delicate, something you can have forever, as well as solitaires. Diamond by the yards are great because it's a wonderful layering piece, something that they could wear through sorority recruitment if they're going to do that. And we also have lots of strings of pearls, a classic gift that they can wear in graduation or any of the senior pictures. And watches and cufflinks for guys. We have those in stock, and they're wonderful pieces instead of just, giving them a Dillard's or Visa gift card. Makes it special.
One more question I've got about it. What about those people who at this time of the year, they really like to get into their jewelry boxes or look in the back of the drawers? It's time to do maybe some late spring cleaning. Right. Can they trade up some of those jewels?
Of course, yes. There's no reason for jewelry to collect dust, especially if Marguerite's is right around the corner or within driving distance. You just load it up. It doesn't matter if you're not sure if it's costume or not. Bring it in. We can test it for you. There's absolutely no charge to that. And then we'll give you an amount that we can write you a check for, or you get times and a half if you want to trade those items in and get something new, or we can always renovate those pieces and make a custom piece like we did for your sweet wife.
Yeah.
And so it would be a piece that they could wear and always treasure.
You can always tell how much it means to Marianne to be able to help, because she helped with that piece for my wife 3 or 4 years ago, and she still takes pride in it. So does Marianne. Anytime she gets a chance to help. Marianne, you mentioned that it's very conveniently located, Pepper Tree Center next to Chappie's Deli on Vaughn Road, and the hours are convenient as well.
Definitely. We're open 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
Gosh, go by Marguerite's. No reason not to let them help you with the wonderful gift-giving opportunities everybody has in their life. Go to Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. Thanks, Marianne.
Thanks.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. Top of the hour, Travis Reier on YouTube Talking Tide, scheduled to join us here in just a moment. I mentioned Robbie from Greenville. He has finally had an opportunity to digest the predictions from last Friday, and he's got a couple of comments that he's not real sure about. He agrees with some of them, disagrees with others. But Robbie, I appreciate you taking the time to break it all down for us, my man.
I probably shouldn't say this right now, but I had a text from somebody just now during the commercial break that saw what Robbie had put on the chat line. Our viewers can see the chat line as well, which is great. And they had asked me, I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying what they had asked me, John.
Sure. Okay.
Is it possible to get Robbie on camera at some time this summer for a segment or two? John takes some time off. I take some time off. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea.
We might be able to schedule that. We've got some connections down in Greenville.
So I
think we could probably make that work. So
the only issue is that as of right now, it's only a 2-hour show. So we always had a little difficulty getting Robbie off the air. Yeah, Robbie, we got to. Robbie, it's top of the hour. Hang on. So. It probably, the departure would be messy, but I'm not against it. We'll have our people get with John's Greenville. John's got contacts in Greenville for tea times at Cambrian Ridge, for a
Saints.
In case maybe he takes a little liberties with the speed limit, something like that. So we can get contacts with Robbie's people and see if we can make that work at some time later when Barry has vacation time.
Yeah. All right, our man Travis Reier on YouTube Talking Tide, joining us here this morning on our City of Montgomery Guest Hotline. Travis, hope you had a great Memorial Day holiday weekend. How you doing today?
How's it going, guys? Good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you as well. What does a Memorial Day holiday weekend look like in the Reier universe?
It was pretty low key this time around. Like I would hope every American, first and foremost, sort of spending some time thinking about those and saluting those who have given everything for our country, and trying to give some perspective to what the weekend is and what it should be about, and really every day for that matter. But otherwise, not too crazy yesterday.
Yeah, that's great. Well said, Travis. Thank you for bringing that up. And not too crazy on our end either. Hearing some stuff out of Destin. The spring meetings have started. Greg Sankey has addressed a lot of the media that's there. What's your take been? I mean, it looks like they're playing hardball. They want to, they're waiting for this House settlement thing to break down, but he's a little perturbed with the ACC and the Big 12 kind of taking some shots out there.
Yeah, and especially on the heels of a 3-bid league and a 12-team college football playoff. So, when you look at the potential for expansion to what is almost certainly going to be 16, you would think not a surprise to see the various conferences sort of, with a little give and take as we get onto the doorstep of all that, the precipice of that. And as you said, there's still so many blanks to be filled in, though. And especially where, the potential or the likelihood of revenue sharing is concerned. We used to think about Destin as a great time for the ADs and the school presidents, because they go down there and pick up those great big checks, every year. And they're still great big checks. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to be interesting to see what they look like in the next 2 or 3 years.
How do you think Greg Sankey sits on those? 'Cause he's so great with the media, to be quite frank. And you know, I was kidding with John earlier today when somebody was asking him yesterday about the way things ought to shape up with the expanded playoff and the 4-4-2-2-1-3 model. And instead of really saying anything, he says, well, we'll see how the conversation manifests itself. As a guy who's used to, in his term as the commissioner of the SEC, used to dealing with a lot of leverage, do you detect him really kind of swaying things towards a particular end in terms of the college football playoff and the House settlement and the NIL and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so many things, so many scenarios that could play out with this stuff, right? Between, everything you outlined and then what is expected to be a topic this week, too, within the SEC as far as a 9-game conference schedule for football. And we know what it all ties back to: financial.
MONEY.
Big money and protecting the interests of the entity that you represent. So, I think that, there's this sort of line in the sand that's going to be drawn sort of moving forward, because, there are some other scenarios where not necessarily just the SEC can, take its ball and go home, so to speak, if it really comes down to it. So I think from a leverage standpoint, the SEC is still in a great spot. I mean, yeah, in football, they were a 3-bid league, but look at baseball right now. Look at softball. Look at the way college basketball played out this season. So I think Sankey sits in a really still in a very strong position, and I think it's something he's going to wield here moving forward.
And to me, Travis, it seems to all boil down to what ESPN wants. If they're going to spend all this money, if they're allegedly willing to give up another 50 to 80 million for the league to go to 9 games and play a quality non-conference game, I mean, I get it. They want the best programming each and every Saturday. They don't want directional schools. They don't want schools that are not recognizable. They want the marquee matchups, as many of them as they can get, for 12 weeks during the fall. And that's the bottom line. And the majority of those games involve SEC and Big Ten teams.
Yeah, and I think to Sankey's point, he's fine with that. But if we go there, even with the financial benefit, there's a financial benefit of knowing we're going to have at least 4 teams in a college football playoff, too. And so he wants some reassurances in that regard. And I think the schools want it, too, because they're still trying. Lost in all of this is that schools are still trying to sell tickets.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the games have become like game shows where it's free. You're just there to provide a studio audience, But as we've talked about, you've got some of these games for face value for over $200, $200 plus this season. So, there's still an aspect to this where the schools would certainly benefit from, non-conference games.
I'm wondering about that, though, Travis, because if I can put on a hat with the perspective of Mississippi State, for instance, having 4 guaranteed berths in the college football playoffs won't mean a dadgum thing to Mississippi State, because it don't, unless you have 12 or 13, they're never going to make it, right?
No,
but you trade away that all right, I'll get behind a 4-team playoff. But wait a minute, you're telling me that I can't play Tulane, I can't play ULM, I can't play Alcorn at home? Come on, where's the benefit to me, really?
Well, and besides all that, when Texas and Oklahoma came into the league, that pushed the Mississippi States and a lot of these programs down to what was 14 before them now Mississippi State's 14, essentially, or maybe 16 right now. Certainly after
Right.
last season, they were 16. So, it's it's tough, but those schools still like those checks.
That's what John said. That's the first thing John said.
That's where you can kind of smooth that over a little bit when you start adding zeros.
Yeah, that makes you feel a lot better. But Travis, my deal with Mississippi State, I really don't have, I shouldn't be beating up on them. But any team in a league like the SEC that is going to Southern Miss, going to South Alabama, going to Troy, going to UAB, I'm thinking, wait a minute, y'all got to get your game up, because SEC teams should not be traveling to those schools.
Well, part of that, though, is the difficulty in scheduling now. Alabama went to USF. Two for one. I know it's Tampa, it's an NFL stadium and things like that. It's a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
But home and home, I tend to agree. If it's a 2-for-1 scenario, that's a little bit different. But if you're talking home and home, that is still a little bit of a tough look.
And if you look further back, Travis, they did play against Southwest Louisiana down in was that Ruston, Louisiana? Where's that from, Barry?
No, it's in Lafayette.
Lafayette. Yeah. They played down there. Well, I think allegedly the story goes, Travis, that was like a 10-for-1.
Yeah,
Coach Bryan. Yeah, it was. He and Nelson Stokely were big buddies, I heard.
There you go.
Well, I might not ask this question from your perspective, except my only brush with greatness with Pops was at a college baseball game down in Jacksonville. But do you have any perspective on the job that Rob Vaughn has done with Alabama baseball, getting them to the point where they are, and, maybe a chance in the next year or two to ascend that program even further, Travis?
I don't see how you can say it's been anything but very good to this point.
Because it was a mess before.
It was a disaster. And, we still all know the limitations. But, what he seems to be able to do is offensively put viable teams on the field. I think where it'll continue to be a bit of a question mark going into this postseason is pitching and pitching depth. I mean, once you get beyond Riley Quick, they close games extremely well, but everything kind of in between, especially once you get into their second, third starter, that's where they still have some questions. But a lot of college baseball teams do. Limitations or not. No one has enough pitching ever. So, but everything taken into account to be relevant to regional host discussion, even though they're going to Hattiesburg this year, I think it says a lot about the job he's done.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mentioned to Barry earlier in the program, from a win-loss standpoint, I think I heard this is the best win-loss season they've had since 2009.
Yeah. I mean, I know people look at a stat like undefeated in midweek games and think, well, I mean, they're midweek games, but they played really good teams at times in the midweek too. I mean, Troy, a very good team. They're going to USM for the regional, and they've got a win over USM this season in the midweek. So things like that, I think, speak to, again, the consistency and sort of the standard that he's implementing that you're going to kind of expect from them now year in and year out.
Travis, recruiting is still going on in football, and I guess maybe basketball as well in some degree, and certainly things are all pointing in the right direction. I just get the sense, and I know we've touched on this before, getting that first year under your belt, I don't want to say out of the way, but, just getting through that first year of, everybody being familiar with how the system works and the coaching staff and the players, and kind of weeding out the ones that might not be all in. Certainly the feeling seems to be things are certainly heading in the right direction. More confidence is what I guess is the word I'm looking for coming out of the football building.
Yeah, I think there's always more of that maybe going into year two of a regime. As we've seen, even with Nick Saban and some other coaches, year one can be exactly the process that you sort of outlined. That being said, we also had a pretty good sample size on Nick Saban as a head coach, and we have a pretty good sample size on Kalen.
Yes.
I mean, Kalen at Washington was very, very good. You look at some of these top 10 coaches in college football for the upcoming season, and you look at the wins he's already got over some of those guys on that list. So that's not the question that he didn't have the credentials, because he absolutely did. But I don't care who you are. Going into year 2, it needs to be what it ought to be, I guess, to borrow a phrase from Nick Saban. And so I think there's a faction of the fan base that is like, everything that John just talked about, that's all great. But now it's time to see it on the field. We talk about how you feel, how it looks, confidence, all those things. You know, once we get a month into the season, I think we're going to get a lot better feel for exactly where they're at.
Well, which leads into my last question. I understand that there's going to be a big TV schedule release in college football, I think, coming up on Thursday, day after tomorrow. You mentioned by the end of the month, you'll know a lot better where Alabama is. That's because at the end of the month they play Georgia in Athens on September the 27th. Got to be a primetime game there, right? I mean, geez.
You would think. But
I'm looking at the SEC schedule. I mean, Arkansas and Notre Dame, not so much. I don't think so.
The Little Holmes Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine that being an SEC network game, but maybe it will be. Auburn's at A&M that day. LSU Ole Miss. I got to think that's going to be a primetime game.
What do we think about that matchup, Travis? Way early, too early.
Yeah, it's so early, and Alabama has had so much success over in the state of Georgia against Georgia, and just against Georgia in general. So, you know, there's no such thing as a must-win game for a guy who's won a couple of national championships. But Kirby Smart could really use this one, you know, especially in his home stadium. You're going to have 2 quarterbacks who I think are going to be kind of similar in their style and how they get it done with the change at the quarterback position for both teams. And I think it's going to be fascinating because there are going to be a lot of new pieces at some key spots for both those teams. But you know, Georgia really, really could use a home win over Alabama of some sort sometime soon.
I am with you there. All right, Travis, this time of year, I know maybe you're trying to get out to the golf course every now and then if you can. Could we possibly see some more of those videos from you out on the golf course?
I bought a new driver yesterday, so I might break out par 3 driver guy tomorrow. I'm going out to Ponte Vedra to play some golf. So we'll see. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah, I love that par 3 driver guy. I love that.
He's been in hibernation for a while. We might have to get him out. You know,
what do we kind of with that in mind? How about my guy Chase Goodbread? You any big subjects talking Tide coming up on Reier on YouTube?
We'll be doing some stuff on the heels of SEC spring meetings, which my favorite part about that week is what you just talked about, Barry. We typically get some more kickoff times.
Yeah.
You know, that's the stuff that I really look forward to. So, yeah, we'll have Goodbread on. We'll dig him up, get him going. He kind of is laying low this time of year, as you might expect, but he'll be busy this week with SEC spring meetings.
Yeah.
So
he's waiting for
a lot to get into with him.
He's waiting for the statute of limitations to run out on some stuff, so he's laying low and all that.
Yeah.
When you finally do get all that together, how can we find you?
Just go to Reier on YouTube. We're on YouTube. Just search Reier on YouTube. You'll find us right there. I'm also on X, at Travis Reier on X.
Fantastic. Hey, Travis, thank you so much, my friend. We always enjoy it and appreciate your time. We'll talk next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Hi, buddy. Thank you, my friend. Travis Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide. Check him out. It is good stuff. I can promise you that.
You know, it takes a little bit sometimes. You try to stay positive in life. And one of the things I always like to do is try new things. You know, you get up in the morning, you think, hey, this is the first morning I get to try that new conditioner. Or, oh, man, today's the day that we get to go over where John was right and where John was wrong or something like that. New driver will do that to you as well.
That'll do it. You cannot wait to get it out there on the track. Now, you know me, Barry. I got
you're in there in the living room, and you're,
Yeah.
your wife saying, "Honey, get out of the way. This is the part of this Hallmark movie that I was watching." Okay, just oh man, get out that new Driver.
Oh yeah,
you cannot wait to get out there.
Cannot wait to get out there. You're a little anxious, a little nervous. You want to make sure that first shot on the first hole strikes right down the middle of the fairway. But if you yank it left, you're going, oh man, I bought
same old golf game.
Yeah. So that is exciting. That's exciting. It's kind of like getting a chat from Robbie from Greenville. How about this, Barry? Robbie says, I made a great point about Penn State's schedule. Well, thank you, Robbie.
We're gonna have to go over some. We might have a full Robbie segment here.
And also, Barry,
thoroughly caffeinated and ready to go.
I think you've opened up a can of worms because Theotis, Tobias, Terrence, they all want to be on the show.
Yeah. Hey, we'll be on for a segment. That's for sure. I remember
we're working on that. We're working on that.
The thing is, we've tried it. We've run test balloons, and we've had some of our people try to get on, but so many of our guys, they're like, "Oh, heck yeah!" And then we test it with them, and they're like, and we're like, "Can't hear you." So, I mean, there's some bugs to work out.
Yeah, be patient. Maybe, possibly, I don't know, by the start of football season, but we'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see how that plays out.
No commitment. Yeah.
When we return, we'll go over definitely some chats because there's been some great chats on our River Region Straw chat line. You can also email us, Longshore and McKnight at gmail.com. That's our Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry email inbox. Barry, a lot of people wanted to know, well, how'd the Phantoms Daily Dog do over the weekend? If you remember, it was the Phantoms Daily Dogs over the weekend. And we will touch on those games and what the Phantom might have in store for today.
Also, well, I'll save this for the other side of the break. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Located just 8 miles north of Alabama's state capital, Capitol Hill features 3 18-hole championship courses. With more than 1,500 acres of golf and nature, the pure magnitude of this facility is amazing and allows each course to be drastically different from the others. Capitol Hill also features an innovative 360-degree driving range, 400 yards in diameter. Capitol Hill offers a fully stocked pro shop with the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Capitol Hill for tee times and more information.
The Bush Guide, cold and smooth survival skills. For a successful stint in the great outdoors, pack accordingly. Place heavy essentials near your spine for stability in rough terrain, with light items near the bottom. Now, you may be wondering, where does the Bush Light go? In your stomach. Bush. Head for the mountains. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2023, Anheuser-Busch, Bush Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
You're not buying sticks, stems, and pine cones. You're buying premium long-diddle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River Region, full of color that will last all season long. Kenny has locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small, from a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load. Pickup is available, or your order can be delivered. They can even spread your pine straw if you like. So call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw needs. All righty, welcome back in, everybody. About 23 minutes past the hour on this Tuesday after Memorial Day. Hope you had a great long weekend. A lot of great content today. Hope you've enjoyed it. You can always check it out at yellowhammernews.com. And, of course, write up about the show every afternoon. Great folks. Check it all out for all of your news, politics, lifestyle, and sports. yellowhammernews.com. Okay. So on Friday,
Yes.
And we made the predictions for the next 12 years. That's what Robbie is commenting on. We'll get to that in just a second. But Barry also made some predictions about some NBA playoff basketball over the weekend. And since it was a holiday weekend, the Phantom came with 2 daily dogs. They were on different days, but the Phantom came with 2. One on Friday night.
Got them right here.
One on Saturday night.
Yeah.
On Friday, you might want to check the scores, Barry, just to be
I'm with you.
Official. We had the Indiana Pacers plus 6.5 at the New York Knicks. I'm not real sure we needed the points in this game.
Well, you didn't.
Oh,
because the Pacers won the game outright.
Wow.
What, it was 5.5? Is that what you're saying? 5.5
6
points?
and a half. 6
and a half. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Pacers 114. Knicks 109.
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah. If you're going to cover for John, his heart is on your side. By gosh, if you cover for me, I hope you win the game outright. Conversely, if you ain't covering, hope you lose by 40.
That's right.
So John was there. So that's number one. That's a winner. Number two, I'm not sure he cares like that much, but they ended up winning it anyway. And John's like, well, that's all right.
Well, that's exactly what happened, Barry. I mean, I looked at the score and went, wow, look at that. The Pacers covered. Oh, hey, they won the game outright too. Good for them.
Yeah. Anyway, so what's next? Yeah, that's how long he took. He took about a second and a half and said, oh, okay. They covered.
Good for them. Yeah.
Okay,
so the
that's
Pacers
one. That's
cover a winner on Friday night. And then also we said, you know what? We got a game on Saturday night we like as well. We're going to go ahead and release it here since it's a long holiday weekend. And that was the Minnesota Timberwolves hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Wolves were catching 3.5 at home.
You remember that I told John at the time, sitting in the showroom at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and Prattville, I said, John, are you sure the Phantom wants to release 2 this weekend? Really? Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, serve it up. Yeah. What do you got? And he focused on that Timberwolves Thunder matchup where Timberwolves playing at home. What was the number on that one again?
They were a 3.5-point underdog at home hosting the OKC Thunder.
And you know what? Woo. Minnesota wins it outright.
I'd say they
42 points, the worst playoff loss in the history of the Thunder / Supersonics ever.
You know, Barry, I had to take a double take there because I did notice quickly that the T-Wolves covered the game, and then I went, man, not only did they cover, they won this thing by 42. So, look, we're not going to get all giddy and pinch ourselves and prop ourselves up. But, you know, Barry, I've never been a big math guy. You know, finite math about took me down.
Yeah, no, that's not what I heard.
I'm running these numbers, and it is true. It is a fact that the Phantom's daily dog is at 15 out of his last 19 selections.
That's true.
And before these 2 games, he'd hit 13 out of his last 17. But as I look at it, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm always going to be 4 games behind. How do I ever I just am never going to get over that 4-game deficit.
But on the other side of things, looking at it positively, when the Phantom, when he picked that Knicks win on Friday night, I'm sorry, not the Knicks. The Pacers, when he picked that Timberwolves win on Saturday night, and the Timberwolves win it by 42. This is how hot the Phantom has been. That one was a winner for him. Timberwolves win outright, and that's the only game the Timberwolves have won in the whole series.
Yeah.
Was one to win and cover
beat last night.
That's
great
how
game.
Hot the Phantom is.
And that was a great game last night. I will admit it was a good one.
Yep.
And you know, Barry, right when I turned it on, and I got to tell you, Doris, is it Doris? Who's the female?
Burke.
Doris Burke. She's really good. She's no Dottie Pepper,
awesome.
but she's really good.
She is awesome. Now, it's a little bit crazy because, again, the Thunder was up 3, and they've been doing it all year long. The Thunder's up 3 late. Yep. Timberwolves have a chance to shoot a 3 to tie. Timberwolves fouled them before they can shoot the three, put them at the free throw line, and the fans were screaming about that. Come on. Let them just go ahead and play. The reason why they fouled them late is so they don't get a chance to shoot the three to tie it up. They can only, shoot 2 free throws and hope you miss one and you get an offensive rebound and a stick back. So they've been doing that all season long. It's a little against kind of the spirit of the game, but hey,
you know what, Barry? I've heard that phrase used a lot.
Against the spirit of the game.
Spirit of the game. I don't give a rat's ass about the spirit of the game. How can I win the game?
That's exactly right.
What do you mean, spirit of the game? Give me a break.
Wait a minute. Yep. Wait a minute. You're out there on that. What is that thing they always had at Bud's with the shuffleboard thing on the table? John ain't trying to win it. He's just trying to block you off. Well, wait a minute. Hey, you're not trying to make a shot of your own. You're just trying to prevent me from getting one. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. It's called playing defense. I mean, something I didn't do a lot in basketball, but back to Doris Burke. I turn it on. It's like in the first quarter, 8 minutes in, and I hear him go, well, looks like the officials are letting them play based on the first 8 minutes. I went, oh, here we go.
Nice. My kind of game, boys.
Here.
All right.
So if anybody
what is it now? 15 of the last 19?
Yeah, what is that percentage? I'm trying to do the percentage here. Who's a mathematician who can give me a percentage of 15 out of 19? I'd be kind of curious to know. Not to get ahead of myself, but I just was curious.
Hey, Siri.
Yeah.
What is 15 divided by 19? 79%, John.
How about that, folks? 79% documented in the over the last 19 with the Phantoms Daily Dawg. So what are you asking? Are we going back to the NBA tonight? We're not, Barry, because I'm a little skittish on this Nick Pacer game tonight.
Yeah. Pacers have a player, Aaron Nesmith, ankle injury, kind of iffy. Pacers playing at home.
Yeah.
But it's a 2.5 point spread when I got something like that tonight on TNT.
Yeah, I'm a little
skittish there.
Skittish. So I'm not chasing money here at all. Not chasing money. So you're thinking, well, Phantom, I got to have a play. I got to have a Daily Dawg. I don't really like that attitude, but I found a winner for you.
All right.
And it is tonight, Barry, in Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball's been good.
5:45 on TBS. This game is actually on television.
What the heck does that mean? All right, 5:45.
That's just a little shot on Major League Baseball for never having for not being on TV very often.
By the way, did you know the much ballyhooed by me point that Ronald Acuna is back for the Braves? Very first pitch he sees when he's coming back from the knee injury, hits it out. He's hit 2 homers in 3 games for the Atlanta Braves. Although, admittedly, they are back under 500, 2 games under 500 at 25 and 27.
So we got Strider going against Suarez tonight in Philadelphia?
That's right. Suarez is pretty good. So is Strider when he's healthy.
Yeah, both pretty good. Barry, this is an even money game. Philly was laying 115 earlier, but some money's come in on the Braves, and I get it. I like the Braves to win this game tonight as well. I'm taking the Atlanta Braves at even money tonight. That means all I got to do is have them win. Just win the game. That's all I'm asking. Is that asking too much? I like the Braves tonight. You mentioned some of these players coming back, been injured. They're now healthy. That is the Phantoms Daily Dawg. Atlanta even against Philadelphia, 5:45 on TBS.
There you go. More to come in just a moment. It is 33 minutes into our second hour, only 27 minutes or so to go. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitchers' duels and slugfests? Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Get some Bud!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. About 24 minutes to the top of the hour.
Real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I had this on my list today. We were talking again about Auburn fans and their reasons to be proud of being Auburn fans. Not just general reasons, fine school, great history, fine academics and all that, but specific reasons. The Auburn men's basketball team was a top 4 national seed, played in the Final Four. The Auburn baseball team is a top 4 national seed. Auburn University is the only school in the country that can make that claim, top 4 in both men's basketball and baseball heading into the postseason. Starting this afternoon, and you can check it out on, I believe, the Golf Channel. Yeah, it's on the Golf Channel this afternoon. The Division I Men's Golf Championships this afternoon on the Golf Channel. Now, you remember Troy was in it. This is how it works. The complete field plays 54 holes, and it began 4 days ago. Then after 54 holes, then the group is cut in half for the last round. Troy was in that mark as well. The top 8 teams following 72 holes then move on to match play to decide the national champion, right? So now we're at match play.
Yep.
The number 1 seed Arizona State Sun Devils in the quarterfinals, match play against number 8 Ole Miss. Number 2 Auburn, the defending national champions, by the way.
Yeah.
Match play against the number 7 Virginia Cavaliers. The number 3 seed Florida Gators against the 9 seed Texas Longhorns. That's not 9, that's a 6. The number 6 seed Texas Longhorns. And then the number 4 seed Oklahoma State Cowboys against the number 5 seed Oklahoma Sooners. Are you kidding me? Whew, bedlam on the golf course. Just letting you know, Auburn, the defending national champion, match play this afternoon at the Division I Men's Golf Championships at Carlsbad, California, against the Virginia Cavaliers. More positive national publicity for Auburn University athletics.
And I don't subscribe, Barry, to some people that I've heard say, you know, if that's what pacifies those Aubs and gets them through, that, you know, good for them. But we all know it's all about, Hugh, when are you going to make us a contender?
When are you going to be top
field?
4 in football, Hugh?
Don't give me this basketball, baseball, golf business. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. We can all, hold hands and
I love it.
Sing Kumbaya, and talk about family and all that kind of stuff. But, look, bottom line, if you put us in a room and lock the doors and tell us, what do you really want? We all know what you're going to say.
You and I both know there's a faction of Auburn fans who are saying,
and I want to say, I don't subscribe to that.
No, that's not John's.
No.
But John just has to present that in the spirit of fairness.
Correct.
There are big money donors out there. They're going, John Cohen, not Longshore. John Cohen. How can we do it in men's basketball? What are we doing in baseball? What are we doing in men's golf that we ain't doing in football? How come? All right. Well, we'll see. What's happening is, so there is a little pressure. I mean, Hugh is saying, this is great. War Eagle, about to get him. But inside he's going, oh,
yeah,
man. All right. Yeah. Way to go, fellas. And everybody, all the Auburn fans are, rooting on baseball, rooting on men's basketball, rooting on men's golf. And while they're rooting them on, they're going, all right, Hugh. You see what we're seeing out here? Sure would like to see it on the football field.
Yes, I would.
Yeah, so
I would. Before we move on, Dennis Mitchell says, I favor 9-game SEC schedule in football, and also please acknowledge what I text to you. I'm one of the many straws that helps stir the drink on this podcast. Thank you. Yep. Dennis, you're exactly right, my friend. You are the straw that stirs the drink. No doubt.
Acknowledge me.
Acknowledge.
He has said that before, yet left and right. Okay.
Thank you, Dennis. Dennis mentioned something earlier in the day, something about a wrestler being arrested.
Oh, yeah. Hang on. Since you call it in favor of fairness, Dennis, John and Barry, I'm ready for the football season magazines to come out. Also, on the dark side of the Memphis wrestling, Randy Savage got into a fight with a man at the Waffle House.
What?
Nashville had their police attack Randy Savage.
Macho Man? No way.
It didn't happen recently, I can tell you that. The last time we saw Randy Macho Man Savage was in the very first Spider-Man movie when he played Bonesaw. And Peter Parker, the Spider-Man, beat him pretty badly.
I thought, Barry, he made his mark doing the Slim Jim commercials.
No doubt. He probably made more money doing the Slim Jim commercials.
Step into a Slim Jim. How do you step into a Slim Jim?
Yeah. I don't know.
That's kind of like the old Cinnamon Toast jingle. Feeling like Cinnamon Toast. What does that feel like?
No.
Never understood that.
All right. And so we've got all that going for us today. Coming up in just a moment, we have got the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel from a long Memorial Day holiday weekend. And I do want to say this. Somebody texted this earlier, and I've got a story about this. Daniel points out, did you guys see that Bob Howell from WSFA passed away? We've got a lot of friends at WSFA. John has done a lot of work with a rival station, but Bob Howell was, he was at WSFA for a long time. That was WSFA when they had Bob and Rich Thomas and Phil Snow and Gregory, Gina Gregory. Gina Gregory, and a really, really good deal. And Bob was the linchpin and all that. Yeah, he passed away over the weekend. Bob was also an instructor in journalism at Troy University, impacted a lot of students around Troy. And I'll never forget another great broadcaster who is no longer with us, Ralph Black at Troy, who I took over for, was telling me the story one time. He had a chance. He asked Bob if he would do a game with him. I think it was a baseball game. And Bob said, sure. I've always loved Troy. I've always been interested in sports. He's been a sports fan and all that. And he came to it was like a midweek game, nothing huge. And Ralph was in there, and here comes Bob. And Bob has got like a full notebook, a full ring binder full. He had printed out everything about that team. He'd got a list of, their stats and their, batting average against lefty pitchers and all that. And Bob was ready. And Ralph says, "Wow, man, I think you may have over-prepared." And Bob said, "That's the only way I know how to do it." So a very, very sad day. He was a fine gentleman. I got a chance to meet with him and talk with him a few times. He enjoyed our program, he told us.
Yeah, he did.
Back in the day. So that was also, but
we
remember Bob fondly.
Yeah, I hate to hear that. I was not aware of that till I saw that on the chat, and
yep.
Sad to hear that news.
Very, very good.
Dennis tells us that Gina Gregory's on the Mobile City Council and has been since 2005. Mac Carmack. Yep, Mac was a TV anchor here in Montgomery for actually what is now CBS 8 at one time. He might have even worked at SFA for a minute, if I'm not mistaken. Dan Atkinson, of course, was a weatherman who went on to work at the Weather Channel as well. So yeah, there's been a lot of great ones that have come through town, stayed through town, and all that kind of good stuff.
Before we get to the topic wheel, real quick, this is rapid fire, and this is unrehearsed.
Yep.
All right. Starting, I think, at 7:40 this morning, which is really good for Robbie from Greenville.
Oh,
Robert
you better
Smith
believe
Jr.
it.
He says, "I listened to the prediction show, which was Friday." He says, "You never did say who wins the SEC football title or how far Alabama goes in the college football playoff. I agree with you on Bama 10-2, except I have losses to Georgia and to Oklahoma." And then underneath it, he puts, "Subject to change." Well, it's all subject to change. Did you make a prediction on who wins the SEC football championship?
Barry, I just predict who I think is going to make the SEC championship, which on Friday I said it would be Georgia and Texas meeting in Atlanta. I think LSU is the team that could possibly sneak in there at this time, but I've just got the two teams that are going to be there. Yep. I did not predict the winners. We get closer to it though, Robbie. I'll give you the win. Same thing with Clemson and Penn State.
Well, Robbie
Those two
says
teams are going to play in the national championship game, but I didn't tell you who was going to win it.
Robbie says, "I don't trust James Franklin getting Penn State to the national title game, but you made a great point about their schedule. Big Ten is a top-heavy conference again in 2025.
Robbie, the key, not only the schedule, Robbie, but I'm very impressed with Penn State's quarterback.
Yeah, and again, he says Alabama goes 10-2, loses to Georgia and Oklahoma. You ever did say who wins the SEC or how far Alabama goes in the college football playoff. Robbie also says,
Barry, I'd like to know Robbie's thoughts about my prediction that Alabama's worst loss in football for 2025 will be at South Carolina.
All right. Robbie, we'd like to have a few predictions from him about that and about really anything else. He says, "I favor a 9-game SEC football schedule after the Big Ten having won the last 2 national titles. Big Ten plays a 9-game conference schedule." He says, "My predictions are subject to change."
You know, Robbie, so are mine.
Yeah, so's everybody's basically. He says the College Football Playoff Committee needs to put more emphasis on strength of schedule, unlike last year, with 5 new committee members. That's true. This year there are 5 new ones. The committee chair is Mac Rhodes, who is the athletic director at Baylor. Mark D'Antonio is on the committee. He's new. Michigan State. Damon Evans, who took the job when he was the athletics director at the University of Maryland. Now, a week after he took the job on the College Football Playoff Committee, he's the AD at SMU. Ivan Maisel is on the College Football Playoff Committee. I love that.
Yeah, he's a good one. Mobile native.
Chris Massaro, the athletics director at Middle Tennessee State. What? and Wesley Walls, a former All-American tight end from Ole Miss. They are new. The only returner to the college football playoff is Steve Weiberg, a former member before. Oh, he's announced to the management committee, and he's a longtime USA writer for that. So there you go. Those are the new committee members out there. The returning selection committee members, Chris Alt, who used to be the athletic director of Nevada, Randall McDaniel at Arizona State, Mike Riley.
Yeah, how about that?
Did somebody predict Mike Riley would be the committee chair? David Saylor, athletics, who is the athletics director at Miami of Ohio, Carla Williams, athletic director of Virginia, Hunter Urachek, the athletics director at Arkansas. So there you go.
There you have it.
Yep.
All right, when we come back, I believe Gurn has got the Gurn Junior Victoryland 777 topic wheel locked and loaded, ready to go. I see it warming up, actually. A lot of topics to get to. We'll knock them out when we return.
It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
You're not buying sticks, stems, and pine cones. You're buying premium long-diddle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River Region, full of color that will last all season long. Kenny has locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small, from a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load. Pickup is available, or your order can be delivered. They can even spread your pine straw if you like. So call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw needs.
It doesn't matter if you're running drills at the park, playing pickup on a Saturday, or sinking the final putt. When you compete with your friends with Michelob Ultra on the line, competition isn't that friendly. The trash talk, next level, and the stakes, oh, those are crystal clear. With only 95 calories and superior smooth taste, it's the ultimate trophy. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra, superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025, Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. About 9 minutes to the top of the hour. Let's hit that Victoryland 777 topic wheel. Gurn Jr.'s got them locked and loaded, ready to go. These are his topics. We are not familiar with them, have not seen these before. We are seeing them just like you do. And we're going to kick it off with the Troy Trojans.
Yep. Troy's competitive athletic year is over with. Troy baseball, last team out in the NCAA tournament, finished 65 in a 64-team field, so they are done with 39 wins this year. Troy men's golf did not make the match play round out in Carlsbad out there. So there is nothing competitively going on with Troy University, but there is, of course, Trojan Tour 2025 and a lot of other things we'll touch on during the summer. Trojan Tour is underway. Their next outing will be on June the 12th in Enterprise at Buffalo Wild Wings, Friday, June the 13th in Montgomery as part of the Montgomery Biscuits game that night, 5:30 to 6:30 at the Club Car Bar at Riverwalk Stadium. John's familiar with that. Yep. Plus, there's a ticket special to the game for Troy fans attending the Trojan Tour. Just go to TroyTrojans.com and search Trojan Tour, and you'll be able to find it. Also, trips into Birmingham and down to the Crenshaw County Alumni Club. So still plenty to get enthused about during the summer with Troy Athletics.
Barry, give a shout out to Troy once again. Another great job hosting the Alabama Special Olympics State Games over the weekend. Great opening ceremony there at Trojan and great competition on Saturday as well. It was our largest group of athletes since COVID. So, COVID kind of hit us hard with Special Olympics, and I weren't able to have the event for a couple of years, but It has come back strong in our largest group of athletes this year, hoping to have many, many more next year.
Dee and I loved it. We actually watched a good bit of the opening ceremonies. John would say, Crenshaw County, let's hear you. And they'd all start screaming, and let's hear you. I can't remember them all. Let's hear you, Henry County. And they'd all scream and yell and everything like that. Oh, my gosh. We just about had a tear in our eye. You talk about fired up to be there. Those athletes brought a lot of passion and juice.
Oh, yeah.
You are
not kidding. You are not kidding. It was awesome. It was. Man, we'll tell you a quick story. There's a guy that I played golf with in Special Olympics. His name is Rodney. He's up from Madison County. He's very competitive. And every year, he did it again this year. I announced Madison. He's walking out onto the floor there, and he looks up at the podium. He looks at me, and he goes, he's coming after me every year on the golf course. I love that guy.
Rodney takes no prisoners. There you go.
All right, let's spin the wheel, Gurn, and see what we got here on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. And it's going to land on
Golden.
What do we got here? Oh, some more NHL.
Oh, Golden Goal, yes. USA Hockey wins the this is the one that wins it. They beat Switzerland in overtime. Boom. Right there.
Love it.
To win this was in Stockholm, Sweden. They win the Ice Hockey World Championships on Sunday. It was Tage Thompson past Swiss goaltender Leonardo Giannoni from the top of the right circle. 2 minutes into overtime. Golden goal. USA, the second trophy won by the Americans ever at the IIHF World Championships since 1933.
Wow, man.
That's the only other time they've won it. So, yeah, love a golden goal in hockey and in soccer. Yep. USA, the champions. Great. Yep.
Good stuff there. All right. Victoryland 777 topic wheel. Spinning again. You can be a winner, too. Exit 22 off I-85 in Shorter, Alabama. The Doors. As in, I'm going to think.
Oh, yeah.
Vanderbilt, check it out. Show your gold.
SEC champions. They beat Ole Miss for the title, and Vanderbilt goes into the College World Series as the number 1 overall seed.
Beautiful.
How about that? They host the Nashville Regional. They're the number 1 seed. Vandy 42-16. Number 2 is Louisville. Number 3 is East Tennessee State. Vanderbilt will open against Wright State. I believe they are it's not the Flyers, but it's in Dayton because it's named after Wilbur and Orville Wright. Vanderbilt and Wright State, 5 o'clock Friday afternoon on the SEC Network. Vanderbilt wins the SEC championship in baseball. Show your gold.
Is the Gurn family going to go to Omaha if they make it for the Natty?
I know that maybe not the whole family, not Tiffany Gurn or, but certainly Gurn, maybe Gurn Jr. And again, Robbie goes 10-2, loses to Georgia, Oklahoma, makes college. You never did mention who wins the SEC. Yeah, we got that, Robbie. We told you why we didn't. Okay. There we go. Okay.
All right, let's spin it again. Let's see if we can get through these 3 before the top of the hour, as they say. It's spinning around. Where will it land? It's going to stay on. Sounds like a walk-off homer in Major League Baseball. This should be exciting. What we got here? Looks like an AstroTurf game.
Wild pitch.
What a way to lose it.
Yeah. They walk off the Marlins.
Padres.
The Padres walk off the Marlins on a wild pitch. Bottom of the 11th Monday night in San Diego against the Marlins. 1 out, runners on first and third. Wild pitch, bounced away from the catcher. Tyler Wade slid in safely. That is a walk-off wild pitch.
I got to tell you, Barry, the catcher's got to be responsible for blocking that ball, but that pitch was horrible.
It was terrible.
You talk
about choke city.
That's a hard pitch to reel in. I mean, come on.
You know what happens? It's a lot like John's theory about putting. That pitcher's up there saying, Okay, tie game. We're in the 11th. There's a runner at third. Don't throw it in the dirt. Don't throw it in the dirt. Of course, what are you going to do?
Sure.
It's like whenever you got your partner up there, he's lining up that putt, and he's telling himself, don't leave it short. Don't leave it short. And you can look right at him. He's your partner, and you know he ain't making that putt because he's going to leave it short because he's thinking about it. You got to have an uncluttered mind, John. All right, here we go.
That was brutal. Two more to go. Let's spin the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel. 2 more to go. Let's see what they could be. All right. It is spinning around. Right. It's going to land on
banana boat.
Yeah, Barry, I could have used a little banana boat. I got a little more sun than I needed, but I don't think that's what we're talking about.
All right.
These NFL players, they kind of look like, not that one in front's not an NFL player.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Oh, NBA player. Okay. That's his wife. Okay, they're on a banana boat. Obviously, he played for the Miami Heat. This
Dwayne Wade. There's a photo. It's really going to be iconic. The banana boat on it. If you look, it's Dwayne Wade.
Yep.
Then LeBron. No, I'm sorry. Then Chris Paul, and then LeBron on the banana boat.
Mm-hmm.
It's also Dwayne Wade's wife. Her name's Gabrielle Union. That was in 2015. It was evidently Dwayne Wade said it was Gabrielle Union who wanted to take the banana boat out onto the water, and none of the other guys thought that a camera would capture the outing, and everybody they're like, holy smokes, look, that's Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, and LeBron James. Of course everybody's going to take a photo of that. Duh. Okay, but that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that's the story behind it. He finally says, hey, it wasn't my idea. Okay, here we go. One more.
Last one. Here we go to make it official. We got to spin
iconic Bee Gees song from the motion picture.
Matter of fact, Barry, the sequel was called Staying
Alive. Yeah, which was terrible. Yep. The Hurricanes, they break a 15-game losing streak in NHL finals. Hurricanes still have a little hockey to play. They're down 3-0 to the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Final. I said the NHL finals, NHL Conference Finals, and the finals. They ended up getting a win, so the Hurricanes are still alive.
How about
in the
that?
NHL playoffs? There you go.
NHL.
We made it.
We did make the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic, Will. Great stuff as always. Thanks again to Bryan Matthews, auburnsports.com, Travis Reier on YouTube. I do think CJ Duncan is home from his honeymoon. I'll get that confirmed today. He was not able to join us last week because he was on his honeymoon, but I think he's back for that. So he'll join us tomorrow on the program. A lot more discussion about the SEC meetings and what's coming out of that. We obviously some postseason college baseball, NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, a lot to get to tomorrow on the program.
Yes, we are glad you are a part of it. For all of our guests and for our broadcast producer, Gurn Jr., I'm Barry McKnight with John Longshore in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.